Hey, babe. So, I wanted to speak to this that I think is really important to recognize in the spiritual exploration and search for the truth and meaning. And I think that we have a tendency to continue to make like confinements and rules about how life should be, or what it should look like, or how we should be to be awakened. Something that I realized after having really explored the non-dual experience, the realization of self as this empty space, as this the state of awareness, the state of conscious, not the state of consciousness, but consciousness itself. Past that point, I realized, and I sometimes say this, like everything goes. There's nothing that isn't awareness. There's nothing that isn't this being. And it is important. It's not it is important to explore the experience itself of pure being. That is an important part. So it's not like we can use this expression everything goes to be like, oh, now I can do anything because nothing matters, or there are no rules, right? To continue to enable behaviors in ourselves, accept behaviors in ourselves that is really escapism, that is numbing or running away, right, from the truth of what we are experiencing, from use it as an excuse to close down, to not be in this open state of experience. But I hear teachers say, and speak in a way that, kind of goes together with this like image of the old sages who used to like go and live in caves and shut themselves off from the world. And my experience is that what I came to was that everything is here, everything is divine. And the expression of the world right now, the confusion and the over mentalization of life, of this experience, that too is the one. That too is I. That too is me. Is this. Is awareness. I think it's easy to come into this mindset that some things need to be pushed away or avoided for us to stay in this state of awareness. right? But can you hear the philosophy in that? Um, it's this but not that. That's a duality. That's a pushing away. And I fully respect, I think that every human being, every being on this earth and beyond has a unique expression. But speaking about humans in particular, humans will have different tendencies, different energies that move them, different things that excite them. It's not about gaining this state of being and then doing everything to hold on to it so that we push away the things that, like, no, that brings me out of the state of oneness, that brings me out of the remembrance of who I am as consciousness. To me, it's and of course here words become funny because I can only speak from this experience, this localized experience. So I'm not stating an ultimate truth here because it's relative. So I see that, each individual expression will have its pull in certain directions. That can be a job, specific job. You can be doing any job and be in the state of knowing. You can live any kind of life and be in a state of knowing. There are, of course, certain things that we do, tendencies that we have that are harming ourselves or the planet. And it is my personal perspective then that those tendencies are based on conditioning. They are not based in the knowing of what we are. Hence, those are the conditionings, the actions, the habits that over time fall away as we deepen our understanding of who we are. But if we have a conceptualization about what that should look like, that in itself is also a conditioned idea. That too is a belief. So to say, we have to live a certain way, like what we eat, what we do in our day. The real question to ask, is it coming from truth? Is it coming from the heart? Or is it coming from conditioning? And that is something that only we can know. No teacher can tell you, you should do this, you shouldn't do that. Some of us are uplifted by being around a lot of people. Others are uplifted by being largely in nature or in solitude. Everything goes. The awakening of humanity is happening everywhere. We don't have to be a certain way. We don't have to look a certain way. We don't have to do anything in particular. to be in the knowing of truth, of who we are, and most importantly, embody that in our unique way. This life is what's happening here is so incredibly beautiful. I think this goes together with, resisting the darkness. But if we're resisting the darkness, we're pushing away. And if we push away, we are resisting. We are creating the dual experience within ourselves. And that is how I noticed this within myself, within my own experience, because I was thrown into an experience of death and grief and loss, and I was pushing it away. I was seeing darkness, and I was like, this shouldn't be. If everything is so beautiful, this doesn't fit in here. Sadness shouldn't be. And then I realized everything goes. Everything is the expression of the divine. Human emotion is an expression of the divine. But where am I relating from? And can I see it all? For what it actually is, which is the expression of the divine. And following that, I realized that when I hold the remembrance, when I see through the eyes of the One, my being, my very being, my existence itself is an affirmation of all of that beauty, is an affirmation of love. So even though I don't, on a conceptual level, agree with the darkness or desire the darkness, I see it for what it is. And then my affirmation of love in the state that I am spreads the light into the darkness. Because it is once again, my personal perspective that humanity has a destiny of every human being in the state of love, which I'm not sure would remove all of the darkness. I don't know. Duality seems to be a state of this life. The night and the day, the up and the down, the warm and the cold. But truly, it is with knowing what we are, what this is, that creates joy, more love, more ease, more flow, more playfulness in the world. And sometimes we might be thrown into situations where we have the opportunity to spread that love, especially when we are thrown into situations where our tendency is to be drawn towards the conditioning of separation, because then we can see something more clearly. We can see our fears, we can see our resistance, and then we can invite unity into that through our own state of being, through our own remembrance, even in the situations where it's seemingly more easy to forget it. You know? Don't try and uphold a facade of peacefulness and then run away from the places, interactions that pull you out of that. Don't necessarily have to go look for them, but there's still something there for you to look at then.